Throughout their time serving as peacekeepers and later generals in the Clone Wars, the Jedi Order were faced with many threats from pretty much everywhere they could think of. Bounty hunters, assassins, and criminals all out to get them. These shady figures would always resort to dirty tricks and cheap tactics, meaning the Jedi were forced to adapt to whatever was thrown at them, including when they were struck with blindness. So, let's find out how Obi-Wan learned the Foresight ability for the first time and saved his life. The story begins squarely in the mid-rim of the galaxy, where Obi-Wan Kenobi and his trusty Astromech Arfour are on course to land on a very dodgy planet nearby. Before preparing to enter the atmosphere of the hostile planet, Obi-Wan makes contact with Anakin, and his young apprentice is very nervous about Obi-Wan's mission, believing he'll be in huge danger. Anakin begs Obi-Wan to wait for him before he embarks on the mission, and Obi-Wan greatly appreciates the concern, but knows that if the tip they recently received of a separatist information broker being stationed on this planet are true, they probably won't have that long to catch him, because those types of guys are not the ones to stick around. Anakin admits that his master is right, and tells Obi-Wan, "Just don't do anything I wouldn't do." This part really shows you just how close they were during the Clone Wars, and they truly were brothers. Following this, Obi-Wan lands his ship on the surface of the very hostile planet and is immediately greeted by a horde of, let's just say, unfriendly beings. Although he doesn't know it yet, Obi-Wan has touched down on the surface, but continues his conversation with Anakin, telling him, "Unlike you, Anakin, caution is my middle name. Besides, it may just be a wild bantha chase after all." While Obi-Wan says his goodbyes to his apprentice, the horde of shady criminals prepare themselves, with their leader ordering them all to get into positions. The other criminals in the group start teasing their leader, warning him not to get too big for his spacesuit, but either way, they all get into position and ready themselves for the arrival of the Jedi Master. Obi-Wan is of course incredibly cautious as he exits his fighter, igniting his lightsaber immediately, just as a precaution. He is worried that this place is awfully quiet, and the Force is subtly telling him that he is not alone. Moments later, one of the criminals calls out to Obi-Wan, leading him to turn his head in an instant before she throws what Obi-Wan believes is a blast detonator. Obi-Wan uses his lightsaber to slice the tiny device cleanly in half while using his hand and the Force to shield his face, but is incredibly surprised to still be in one piece. Instead of having a large blast go off next to him, a large flash of light emanates from the device, shocking Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan is completely blinded by the flashbang and is sent into a deep panic. Something that only very troubling situations can do to this very wise Jedi Master. Following this, the band of criminals are excited that their blinding trick on Obi-Wan actually worked, but he warns them not to get too confident. The criminals in response realize that even a blind Jedi is more dangerous than a rampaging Reek, which is why they all teamed up together and formed a group to take Kenobi down. One of them is even dreaming of how high up the rankings they will go once they deliver Obi-Wan's scalp to the Bounty Hunters Guild. These guys are hoping at that point there is nothing the Bounty Hunters Guild can say to stop them from joining. As the blinded Obi-Wan tries to navigate his way through the area, he is extremely frustrated with himself, knowing that even the most naive youngling wouldn't have fallen into a trap like that, and is dreading telling Anakin about this story because he is never going to let him live it down. That is, assuming he lives to see another day at all. Following this, Obi-Wan reminds himself that Master Yoda always says that disability should be no barrier to victory for a Jedi. After remembering this, Obi-Wan reaches his hand out and opens his mind to the Force, sweeping the surrounding area to see if he can get a sense of his surroundings. Obi-Wan is not sure if using the Force in this way will even work, but he has no other choice than to give it a try and see what happens. To his absolute surprise, Obi-Wan manages to get a glimpse at his surroundings through the Force for the first time ever. It is definitely not sight or vision, but it's better than nothing and will certainly help him to survive. Awesomely, this shows us just how the other blind Jedi, like the ones of the Mirror Luca species, as well as Ram Koda and Kanan Jarrus, are able to see. Obi-Wan then uses this new Foresight ability to evaluate his surroundings and is desperate to find the criminals who tried to kill him. To do this, he lifts up one of the incredibly heavy statues, revealing the location of one of them. Obi-Wan is pleased that one is down and begins trying to find the rest of them, taunting them about his newfound ability and how he's going to escape without trouble. The other criminals are now forced to scatter in sheer panic, hiding in whatever hole or gap they can find around the place. A few of them group up into a narrow alleyway and they warn each other to be quiet, but it's not going to be of any use. Obi-Wan has already swept the entire area through the Force with a reaching query and already knows that there are two of them hidden away in the alley and that it sounds like they're trying to come at him from the other end. Obi-Wan tells himself that perhaps with a bit of luck and a handful of stones, he'll be alright. As the criminals begin to panic even harder than they already are, they are pushed back further and further until eventually they reach the other end of the alleyway, which sadly for them happens to be a dead end. The two are so on edge at this point that they begin shouting insults at each other, with one even calling the other a stupid nerf herder. Not sure how these guys survived as long as they have, to be quite honest. After this, Obi-Wan uses their unfortunate dead end to tie them up in nets and taunt them about his newfound skills. Obi-Wan sarcastically apologizes about their situation, saying, "It was my fault, boys," before Jedi mind tricking them to go to sleep. They try to argue and say they aren't weak-minded enough for a Jedi mind trick to work on them, but they are very quickly proven wrong and put to sleep in an instant. After this, Obi-Wan knows that there are still at least 3 of them out there still trying to hunt him down, and he definitely can't count on them being as stupid as these 2. Because of this, he's got to make them come to him. Obi-Wan then gets on his comms device and tries to call Arfour over, which of course gathers the attention of the remaining criminals. Obi-Wan tells his Astromech to activate the starfighter and trace his signal to quickly come and find him, but the band of criminals are already lined up and ready to pounce on Kenobi. As soon as they point their blasters and other sharp weapons at him, Obi-Wan pretends to be down and out, putting his hands up and surrendering. Obi-Wan immediately ignites his lightsaber and cracks open 2 large statues in front of him, sending a massive plume of smoke billowing through the area. The criminals arrogantly say, "Shame to see a Jedi lose his nerve, eh boys?" But they quickly realize that Obi-Wan had just outsmarted them in every way possible. Obi-Wan says, "Not so fast, gentlemen," before using the Force to direct the thick smoke in their direction, putting them in agonizing pain and, more importantly, blinding them in only seconds. And you have to remember, Obi-Wan is still visually blind at this point. He's relying on just his foresight ability to see his surroundings, which is of course way more limited than his normal vision. After this, Obi-Wan declares, "Now we're on a level playing field, and with the Force as my ally, I'd say the odds are in my favor," before he forcefully kicks one of the criminals right in the stomach and slices the other one's blaster in half. Following that, Obi-Wan is about to be blasted by another of the criminals waiting in the shadows, and this time, instead of using his newly acquired foresight ability, he can just smell the ozone nearby and just barely manages to evade the blaster bolt. The idiotic criminal ends up hitting his own friend right in the leg. Obi-Wan is pleased by this and is very happy that they're just doing his job for him at this point. Also, let me know down below what your favorite Force ability is. There are absolutely so many of them and so many variants of them, which can all be used in different situations for different purposes. So tell me down below which one you'd be the most likely to use if you had access to it. Next up is a criminal with a large curved blade who is ready to strike and shouts out, "All I need is 1 strike," to which Obi-Wan responds, "Don't try it," which I'm sure you guys know where that reference comes from. After hearing this line from Obi-Wan, the criminal drops his blade immediately because he knows that if he misses, he's going to receive a scorching hot lightsaber blade right through his arm. And to end the story, Obi-Wan calls in his 212th to clean up the mess he made, and they begin arresting everyone associated with these criminals who tried to assassinate their general. Obi-Wan then returns to Commander Cody, who is shocked, and tells him, "If I hadn't seen it, Master Jedi, I wouldn't have believed it." Obi-Wan hilariously responds, "I didn't see it, Commander, and I do believe it." So that is how Obi-Wan finally unlocked the Foresight ability and was able to see without eyes. Thanks so much for watching, really hope you enjoyed the video. Remember to leave a like and comment down below for more awesome Star Wars lore content just like this. We've got the Bad Batch coming very soon, so stay tuned for that. Cheers guys, hope to see you in the next one.